Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 27. If you're looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. Today on the show, we have Heidi from Columbus, Ohio, who is a shamanic practitioner, a doula, and co-founder of Motherful, an organization that supports single moms in her local area. And she is on the show to share her pregnancy story at 46. In this episode, she talks about her previous challenges with being a single mom. She also has a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. And this time, she gets to share her experience with her partner. She also talks about how she planned this pregnancy. The women that share their stories on the show are, of course, mothers. And as a disclaimer, sometimes the kids are often a part of the show. There will be some background noise on this episode. And let's get straight into it. Here's Heidi's pregnancy at 46. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Thanks. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Heidi House. I am a musician, a poet, also a healing artist, and a community organizer. Co-founder and co-director of an organization called Motherful. We support single moms here in Columbus, Ohio.
And you're coming on the show to share your pregnancy story at 46.
Yes.
Tell us how that started.
Well, I was a single mother for almost a decade, and I met my now husband in 2018, and we were married in 2019. And I have a 19-year-old son, currently now a 19-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. And I had them already when I met him. And I thought that I was done having children, even though I really wanted a third child. I'd always thought of a third child, having a third child. But I figured, my kids are almost grown and I'm older and it's probably not going to happen. So actually about a year into my relationship with my husband, after I'd kind of told him I'm done with having kids, though I had this secret wish for a third child, he was like, actually, I want to have a baby. And so I said, well, we better get started. We better get started because we're not getting any younger, And so, so we started working towards having our baby and, went through that journey.
And so you planned it out just by timed intercourse?
Yes. I mean, I was aware of my cycles. I also did consult with fertility specialists just to see if there was anything that I could do to support the process in case it wouldn't happen. And we kind of looking into my options, like what are the ways to increase my fertility, or if it doesn't come easily. And so we actually did become pregnant in 2020. We had a miscarriage in 2020 due to the toxic poisoning from tear gas that I was exposed to. We took some time to regroup from that. I had done a lot of different things. I was doing a lot of different things just personally, physically, and emotionally to clear the way for the pregnancy. So of course, after the miscarriage, we had a grieving process. And then I did a lot of different holistic therapies to support my body in the process too, because I had a lot of trauma from my prior births. And I knew that might impact my ability to become pregnant and hold on to a pregnancy. So I was doing a lot of alternative therapies, including acupuncture, including I did some womb massage, actually. I believe it comes from the Mayan tradition.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I've never heard of this before.
I can try and send you a link to the specific massage type because I don't want to misquote what it is because I believe it's from the Mayan tradition, but it could be something different. So I want to make sure that I get it right. So I can send you that and you can maybe insert it into the notes or something. But there's a very special tradition of womb massage that supports healing the womb. And so I did some of that. I also just intuitively felt that I needed to eat more whole foods, more vegetables. I did some cleansing, gentle cleansing with eating more greens and things like that. And just really focusing on my health and wellness, and did a lot of magic. I'm actually a big proponent of magic. So a lot of magic work, just different spiritual practices to support myself. So yeah, and like I said, acupuncture, I was utilizing regular acupuncture to support the process, and so we became pregnant again in 2021 in the fall, and with our son. And yeah.
How was that day like when you found out?
It was so exciting, just really exciting. And my sister, actually, who is 3 years younger than me, she had been told for over a decade that she couldn't have children because of endometriosis. And actually, we had taken a trip together to our alma mater where we went to college together in northern Wisconsin in August. And right previous to going there, my sister had done a half Ironman triathlon. So that's like 8 hours of intense physical challenge, And so she and I went on this trip then about a month after she did the Ironman. And she called me in September and said, "You're not going to believe this. I'm pregnant."
Oh my gosh.
Like, she had a complete surprise pregnancy after going through the whole acceptance that she wasn't capable.
Yeah.
They had told her she wasn't capable of having a baby. And then surprise, right? So then a month later, I was pregnant.
Oh, awesome.
And it was just really like, wow, we get to be pregnant together. And my sister had wanted to have children, but had kind of just gone through this process of accepting that she didn't want to do invasive things. It just felt like there was a lot of miracles,
Yeah.
And that we got to have our miracle too. And so it was just beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Wow. And were you just late on your cycle?
Oh yeah, I was late and took a test, and probably at about 6 weeks, I think.
What a fun experience with your sister.
Yeah, it was really wonderful.
And how was your pregnancy?
I would say my pregnancy was really wonderful, actually. I mean, I just, even with the pains and the discomfort that would come up, which is common, I just was really in a state of gratitude, in a place of gratitude that we get to have this experience, and that I was really healthy throughout the whole thing, and my husband was with me and supportive. And, after being a single mom for so long and struggling with that, it was I just felt really blessed and grateful that I had such a supportive partner and that we got to manifest this pregnancy.
And did you use the same doctor you used with your first two births?
No. A friend of mine who's a nurse midwife here in Columbus, Ohio, she and the founder of an organization, a reproductive justice organization called Root RJ, she recommended an OBGYN. And so we went with her, felt really comfortable with her. It was really important to me. My husband is African. He's immigrated from Rwanda. And it was just really important to me with the documented experiences of Black people with maternal and infant health. It was really important to me that we chose a Black OBGYN and that would be able to
support us with having, our mixed son, and also that would be respectful and culturally appropriate for my husband's experience. And so we chose a Black woman, OBGYN, Camila Chambly Dixon, and she was great.
And did you find out the sex during pregnancy?
Yes, we did. I was excited to find out. I already knew intuitively that he was a boy, but it's great to have that confirmation.
Oh, that's cool. Was there anything you did to create that energy that you knew you had a son?
I mean, I had always had a vision that I would have another boy.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a shamanic practitioner as well in my healing arts. So I'm also clairvoyant. And so that's one of the things that I had always envisioned was having another boy. And when you have visions like that, oftentimes they do materialize, but there's no guarantee of when.
Sure.
So yes, I had envisioned having another boy, and I had actually had an abortion in 2014 when I was a single mom and I wasn't ready to have a child at that time. And, I had dreamed that was a boy as well. And so I was always looking to, when is my boy going to come? And I had kind of given up on it. So when I became pregnant, I was like, I know it's a boy. And turned out he was.
Wow. So it was not a surprise for you.
No, but it's always great when, your intuition is confirmed,
Yeah. Was there any products that you couldn't live without or would recommend during pregnancy?
I really feel like I was trying to think about this. I think the products I couldn't live without, probably my fish oil supplement, and that I think was really helpful, and magnesium supplements. I'm not a really high consumer, so those were the only things I could think of. Maybe my heating pad.
Oh yes, they had that in the IVF clinic that I was at, and I was like, every doctor needs one of these,
right?
And how did you prepare for birth in the baby?
How I prepared for birth, I did a lot of visualization, especially because, like I said, I had a lot of birth trauma from my previous births, which were both emergency C-sections. And so I really wanted to, this was the third time I was going for a home birth. And I really wanted to have a VBAC. And so I was just preparing by visualization, by affirmation, by just, and also opening to whatever may come, whatever the baby needs, whatever I need at the time, so how we prepared for the birth. I mean, I didn't do much reading. I did a lot of that with my other two children. I call myself a mature mother. I'm a seasoned mother. I'm also a doula. I spent a lot of time in the childbirth space when I had my first two children. And so I kind of was just more intuitive about it this time, and wasn't doing much like reading or preparation, but my sister was doing a lot of that. So I got to talk about those things with her and sort of be brought back into those questions and considerations through conversations with her. And because it was her first time, and I did have a doula lined up for my birth, and also worked with my good friend who recommended the OBGYN, who's a doula, and she's a nurse midwife, Jessica Roach, who's a leader in the reproductive justice space here in Columbus, Ohio, and regionally. And so she was kind of supporting me well. So I just, prepared by doing as much as I could to remain stress-free and setting myself up for postpartum, because I knew postpartum would be like the most important thing for me based on the fact that I had postpartum depression and psychosis previously. So just really preparing for what I could.
It sounds like a lot of mental preparation.
Yes, exactly.
How did the doula prepare you? Did she help you physically prepare?
Yeah, she helped me just more spiritually, mentally, I would say, because we ended up actually not using the doula because our birth plan did not go as we desired and planned. But, she was just there for me as support by phone, by, but just by, I guess I would say like verbal and moral support, being a sounding board, supporting me and like just affirming in the most positive outcomes.
And cravings, did you have any of them during pregnancy?
I definitely did. I definitely had cravings for some like local restaurants that I loved. I mean, chocolate. Yeah, Indian food, spicy foods, definitely.
What, I guess, physically, were you exercising or doing anything on that kind of, were you doing any of that?
Yeah, so I love to be outside in nature. So I was doing as many like walks outside with my dog and hikes in nature as possible, probably 3 times a week if I could, as much as I could. Because I also knew that once baby was here, that would be more limited. And so I was just really enjoying my time, especially with, I have teenagers. So even though they needed me, they didn't need me as much as like the baby would need me to be available for him. So I was walking a lot. I did swim. I was swimming at the local pool. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So swimming and walking were my main things, and hiking in the woods. Yes.
So take us back to birth and how did it start out?
Yes. So I actually ended up having gallbladder attacks. So this was a surprise to me because I wasn't familiar with the pain or the experience of gallbladder attacks. And it turns out that in your pregnancy, you can form gallstones because of the estrogen. It's one of the things that promotes the formation of gallstones, which I had never had before. So it was actually the day of my baby shower that I had my first gallbladder attack. So it's like a shooting, stabbing pain in your kind of in the right, under your right ribs. Like it's horrible, horrible pain. And so it's actually, some people would say like similar to labor pains in that it's really painful, sharp pain, but it doesn't subside. And, it's usually can go on from anything from like 45 minutes to multiple hours. So I had gallbladder attacks, for like the last.
And how far along were you?
Yeah, it was about the last month of my pregnancy. I was like 8 months.
Okay.
7.5, 8 months pregnant. And so that started happening, and I subsided, would come back and subside, and based on something that I was eating. So I was trying to, minimize the gallbladder attacks. And then because they couldn't take it out at that point in the pregnancy, normally like the medical procedure is to just remove it, but they can't do that when you're in your 3rd trimester. So I had to just deal with it, which was really awful. So at the very end of my pregnancy, I was having 12-hour horrendous gallbladder attacks, basically.
Oh my gosh.
Really horrible pain. So I ended up in labor and delivery because they would have to monitor me in order to give me pain relief. Because the only thing that will give you pain relief is like a pretty strong narcotic, which of course is not preferred for mom and baby at that stage. I ended up in labor and delivery until May 20th when he was actually born. I had been probably checked in and out of labor and delivery like maybe 4 times in the few days before that. So when I came in the last time, it was in extreme pain again. And they said that my blood pressure was like, I don't know, 220 over 150 or something like that. So they were like, we have to get him out. I had become at that point preeclamptic, and I hadn't been until then. So it was probably the extreme pain that I was in, I imagine. But they basically said like, we have to get him out right now. So, my birth plan was out the window, and but I also wanted to be free from that pain. And of course, there are things that can go wrong if your gallbladder becomes, infected and from the obstruction that the gallstones create. So it was just a situation I had to surrender and go with it. So by the time, he was born at 1:34 in the morning via C-section, and we just ended up with that outcome. And we got to meet our baby.
Yeah. And they didn't take your gallbladder out, but
They did not.
So did the pain go away afterwards?
So the pain went away. Yes, because so the baby, of course, was like pushing on the gallbladder as well. Because it's, you're so full, your belly's so full, and he was kicking it. And so I think, they did consider taking the gallbladder out while they were doing the C-section, but if for whatever reason, because of the like fast nature of the surgery, it happening so quickly, they just they couldn't get it together. Yeah. So after he was born, yes, the pain subsided and it did come back. I thought, okay, well, great. Well, maybe it will just resolve itself because he's no longer in there, like pressing against it, but then it did come back in, I would say, a couple of months. I did have another attack, and then it subsided again for probably 6 months or so. And then I've had some attacks recently, but I'm still working to save my gallbladder. Because the thought would be that if I'm able to dissolve the stones, and perhaps because I'm no longer pregnant and I'm breastfeeding, perhaps I would be able to not form more stones. So maybe I can still save it, which is what I'm exploring right now.
Wow. They're at least getting further apart.
Yes. Yeah, I'm working with a Thai herbalist with some special herbs, and I'm working with my diet to, like I said, just want to try and avoid another surgery so quickly after the C-section.
Yeah.
And also, I'd love to save my gallbladder if I can. So we'll see.
For the C-section, he was fine when he came.
He was fine. He was healthy. He was 2 weeks early, which is different from my other two children. They were both 2 weeks late. I joke and say that he just wanted to be a Taurus. He wanted to be born under a Taurus sun because he was born on May 20th. So, but yes, he was 100% healthy, no issues. And, it was, their concern was more, the risk to me with my blood pressure being so high.
And what about the placenta or anything? Did you get any of that?
No, we didn't. It was just such a fast surprise, and I was in so much pain that I wasn't really.
Yeah, you couldn't think.
Yeah, and my husband and I had been going through this ordeal for a couple of days of this severe pain. And so there wasn't, and it was really a surprise to me. I think I wasn't really prepared for the birth to happen at that point. So, I just kind of surrendered and said okay, well, I had, hoped for a home birth, and I had hoped for, to be able to work with my placenta, but I didn't at that point. I just kind of surrendered that and let it go, because when you're in that amount of pain, there's not much that you can remember,
Yeah, you're in survival mode and your brain is not thinking about all that extra stuff.
And my doula wasn't able to make it. So it was just me and my husband, and he was navigating we also didn't get to have our OBGYN there. It was just navigating with the hospital staff that was there at that time. And so, like I said, I just surrendered and let it go. Okay.
And how was your recovery?
My recovery was pretty good. We, as far as the C-section scar, recovered really well. Like I said, this is my third surgery, cesarean surgery, and I definitely had a lot of postpartum anxiety in the first month, I would say, as the hormones were adjusting. And my husband had to go back to work after 2 weeks, which was tough for me because I had hoped for more time. But, and breastfeeding was not easy with him, with this baby. It had been not even something that I thought about with my other two. They both breastfed for 2 years, with no issues. I never even pumped. I mean, it was just very, I took it for granted, I think. And with him, he was not his latch was, he had a trouble with latching. He he was more interested in the bottle, I would say. And so we just kind of struggled with breastfeeding. So that was hard too.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like the anxiety induced by the doctor telling you like he's not gaining weight enough or fast enough. I think some of it is also kind of formulated and induced by the doctors kind of telling you like you've got to feed him more. But it all worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, I would say that it was for overall a very beautiful postpartum period.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely was monitoring my anxiety. I was definitely really checking in with myself based on my past with postpartum mood disorders, that I wanted to be sure that I had all the support that I needed, and was really just making sure I was okay and taking care of me.
What helped with the anxiety? What helped resolved it?
Yeah, so I have a chiropractor that I go to. He's a network spinal analysis chiropractor. So it's a specialty in the chiropractic field that focuses on the nervous system and healing the nervous system and allowing the nervous system to adapt to new challenges and optimizing the nervous system, really. So I continued at chiropractic care with him. And I also had my son going to chiropractic care. So that, my baby. And then I really focused on my nutrition. I really focused on, like, when the anxiety came up, my chiropractor actually recommended some supplements that really helped me. GABA is one of them, that helped with the anxiety. I was definitely taking magnesium, calm magnesium, which helped with anxiety, and really focusing on, my nutrition, my utilizing some herbs like adaptogens, and focusing on, keeping my gut healthy, my gut biome healthy with healthy foods. Just really listening to my body and doing as much as I could to like support and stay on top of my nutrition. So like eating frequently, hydrating completely, like just putting myself first in ways that I think I didn't know how to do when my other children were born. So, and really just learning about a postpartum care for myself, allowing myself to be supported by my community. So like, we had a meal train that some friends had created for us. And so a lot of friends and community came together and brought us food, like just allowing people to support me. I had some community members come and clean for me, and, just really keep me company, and I reached out to a lot of people too when I would be struggling emotionally or mentally. I was also checked on by a local organization called Poem. They specifically focus on perinatal mood disorders and moms in the postpartum period. And so like I had been a part of their support group back with my other children's births. And so it was really wonderful because they were like kind of checking in with me, like, did you find a counselor yet? Are you talking to someone yet? They were calling me like every week, probably just saying like, how are you doing? And that was really, really helpful, just to have someone say, don't forget about your mental health, and if you need anything. And so really and I also have a wonderful village and community of friends and who were checking on me and making sure I was okay and, supporting me. So I would say all of those things, the self-care, the community care, the, all of those things together really helped me get through it. And I feel like it was successful. It just felt more like, oh yeah, this is normal, the normal ups and downs that you experience in postpartum. It didn't feel like I was going to have a breakdown or, whereas previously, like with my daughter's birth, I was hospitalized with postpartum psychosis, and it took me probably really 2 years after she was born to feel like I was safe by myself, so that was a really big difference. So I really wanted to make sure that I had all of my, that I felt like I was in my autonomy and authority, and just feeling like confident within myself as a new mom again. And so I feel like that we accomplished that. Yeah.
What would be the differences from birth at 46 in pregnancy than in your 30s?
Yeah. I just know myself so much better. I understand myself so much better. I feel so much more able to ask for what I need and to know what I need. I also, like I said, I have, my husband, super supportive, loving, nurturing, generous man. And so that's, was a huge difference for me. Just I have a beautiful relationship with him. And so that was a big difference, I think the maturity was, made the experience a lot more, my maturity made the experience a lot more calm, like I think I'm just able to respond to things better than I did then, because I'm more confident as a person, as a woman, as a mother than I was then. And I'm more self-assured. I know myself better, really is what it comes down to, and I'm able to advocate for myself better I'm more resourceful.
Yeah.
I've had more years to understand that. And I've also done a lot of healing, I've done a lot of healing in the last 16 years since my youngest of those two children was born. And so I've just really come a long way as far as feeling whole.
I love that.
Yeah. So I feel like, I just know myself better, and I'm more in tune with myself.
Is there anything you want to add about pregnancy or birth or postpartum, either one?
I would just say that through this process, I really felt like, wow, this is amazing that our bodies can do this, even though, like, the doctors or medical field or whatever would say this is a quote unquote geriatric pregnancy. Like, I felt great through my pregnancy. I felt like it wasn't much different from my younger pregnancies, and like we can do this. And also, my husband's mother had her last child at age 46 in Uganda, and that was probably without much advanced medical care, and as far as I know, there wasn't even a peep about her age.
Yeah.
And so, and he kind of mentioned that was just not even an issue. So I think that's really a modern medical, making it something that it's not necessarily all the time, so I feel like older moms, quote unquote, older mature mothers should feel empowered and emboldened to go after their dreams of, bringing a child into this world in whatever way is right for them, and that it's possible and we can do it. And
that's perfect. Do you have plans to have more kids in your 40s?
I do not. Right before I had him, I kind of had some thoughts about, like, do I want to have another one? And this was a lot. It was a big challenge. It's been a big challenge, especially because career is really, I feel like I'm really at a very important place in my career, and definitely it's different having a baby at this age, in the sense that I'm more tired. The surgery was probably harder to recover from than when I was younger. And I just don't really want to go through it again.
Yeah.
All of that. And I feel grateful and blessed with this child. So I think, we don't plan to have any more.
Okay. And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
My biggest challenge actually relates more to the systemic issues that we're dealing with as mothers in our country. The lack of systemic support for mothers is, the fact that my husband had to go back to work after 2 weeks because we don't have paid family leave on a federal level. And my biggest challenge now is, of course, the cost of childcare. We deserve universal childcare universally. So that's what I see as the biggest challenge, and what we're working on with our organization to push the needle forward for mothers and children. and for specifically, us, but also the younger generation, so that they don't have to struggle.
Yeah.
So they don't have to struggle this way.
Mm-hmm.
We've, suffered a lot from the struggle of losing wages, and because there's no paid federal leave, and, it's just, it's really an injustice. I think that's the hardest part about what I'm going through. And I'd like to be a part of making a change.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy in their 40s?
I definitely, always recommend a doula or two,
mm-hmm.
And also listening to the wisdom of other mothers and women. It's one thing to read a book or to talk to your doctor, but I think surrounding yourself with experienced mothers, surrounding yourself with other women who have been there and done that, and just really allowing them to inform you more than the quote unquote professionals. I think that's valuable, getting back to the wisdom of women and the wisdom of mothers, and midwives, and of course, building that community and village for yourself, because that's so important, especially if you haven't done it. And the other thing I would say is understand yourself and become attuned with yourself and your intuition and your gut, really knowing, being able to hear that voice inside of you that says yes or says no, and being really aligned with that. That's what I think is super important. And slowing down, slowing down so that you can hear that voice, because, we're so, by the time we're in our 40s, we've been doing this career thing, we've been doing all of these things, but have we really gotten to know ourselves and done the healing work? That we need to do from our childhoods, from the things that are kind of keeping us from that internal compass. So I think a lot of times by the time we're 40, we can be just so driven in our lives. And yet have we taken the time to really attune to our souls? I think that's really important too.
Yeah, me too. What advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
I would definitely say stop eating greasy food. Because you're going to have a gallbladder attack. I would definitely say yes, food tastes amazing, and probably need to cut out some of those things you're enjoying right now.
And speaking of your organization, will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm the co-founder and co-director of an organization here in Columbus, Ohio called Motherful. And our mission is to support, empower, and nurture single mother families through education, community resources, arts, and wellness. So we are a BIPOC-led grassroots collective of single mothers, by single mothers, and for single mothers. We are 400 plus members at this point. We're 4 years old, and we are feeding 50 plus families a week through our food pantry and community garden, to quarterly community dinners for single moms and kids, have mom's night out, we have wellness programming, and we have an online app that allows our village to connect and get resources, especially promoting and centering the leadership and voices of Black, Indigenous, and mothers of color. And really just, giving single mothers the village that we need, and that comes out of my experience as a single mother for almost a decade. And our big goal is to build a co-housing development here in Columbus, Ohio. I want to build chapters all over the world, where we also build what we're calling mommunes, little villages where moms can support each other in the labor of reproductive, the reproductive labor of child raising and caring for children, which, we see as a solution to the systematic abandonment of single mothers. So we like to say the future of motherhood is collective. And so, yes, you can find us at motherful.org. We need all the support to fulfill our vision for this co-housing development. And if you're interested in supporting us or partnering with us, definitely reach out at info@motherful.org.
Awesome. That's wonderful. What a great cause.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see this little community of mothers and children. That just sounds utopia to me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we already have it. We just need the space,
Right. That's so awesome. And where can our listeners find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'm at HeidiHouse.com and also at Heidi House on Instagram or Facebook. And then you can Google me and find my music on Spotify and work with me through my website, HeidiHouse.com.
Wonderful. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story at 46.
Thank you for having me. And thank you, Jamie, so much for doing this podcast and giving so many women and mothers and families hope. And also just destigmatizing the experience of mothering in our 40s, and having babies in our 40s.
Yeah.
And it's more than possible. It's absolutely normal, Thank you for creating this space where I can share my story and where other moms can share their stories too.
And that's Heidi's pregnancy story at 46. I was so intrigued with the womb healing. I really wanted to know more. And she sent me a link to more information, and I've included that in the show notes and along with Motherful and all the other information that we discussed in the show. On next week's show, we have Ellie from Melbourne, Australia on to share her story at 45. I can't wait to share it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye.